Long, long ago, there were no schools like the ones we have today. Children often went to live and learn in places called ashram. Their teachers were wise men called sages or rishis. The children studied many things there. They learned to read and think. They learned about the nature around them. They also learned how to work together, help others, and live a good life. Near the ancient city of Ujjain was the ashram of a wise teacher named Rishi Sandipani. Many children came there to learn. Among them were two boys named Krishna and Sudama. Krishna and Sudama soon became the best of friends. They studied together, worked together, and played together. Often they laughed and joked. Sometimes they got into a little mischief. Wherever one went, the other was usually not far away. But the two friends came from very different families. Sudama's family was poor. They lived simply in a small house, and they had very few possessions. Krishna, on the other hand, was a prince. His family had great wealth and lived in comfort. But none of that mattered at the ashram. There, every student was treated in the same way. Krishna ate the same simple food as Sudama. Both followed the same rules. They were not a prince and a poor boy. They were simply two students. Years passed, and at last their education was complete. The students said goodbye to their teacher and to one another. Then they returned home to begin their new lives. Krishna went back to Dwarka to live in a magnificent palace surrounded by gardens, fountains, attendants, and guards. Many people came to him every day for advice and help. In contrast, Sudama's life was very different. He lived with his family in a small house and had very little money. He earned what he could, and his family managed on his small income. Even so, Sudama remained gentle and content. He remembered the lessons he had learned at the ashram and tried to live a simple and thoughtful life. One day, Sudama's wife spoke to him. "Krishna was your closest friend at the ashram," she said. "He is now the king of Dwarka. Why don't you go and meet him? Perhaps he can help us." Sudama hesitated. He had never liked asking others for things, and Krishna was his friend. Sudama did not want to visit him only because he needed help. Still, it had been many years since they had seen each other. At last, Sudama decided to go. But then another thought troubled him. "I cannot visit an old friend empty-handed," he said. "What can I take for Krishna?" There was almost nothing in the house. His wife gathered a small handful of pohe, simple flattened rice, and carefully tied it inside a piece of cloth. Sudama looked at the little bundle. Krishna was a king now. Surely he received wonderful gifts from visitors every day. What would he think of such a simple gift? Still, it was all Sudama had to offer. So he took the little bundle and began the long journey to Dwarka. As he walked, questions filled his mind. Would Krishna remember him after so many years? Sudama looked down at his old dhoti and the worn cloth around his shoulders. Then he looked at the tiny bundle of pohe in his hand. For a moment, he almost wanted to turn back, but he kept walking. After a long journey, Sudama finally reached the great palace of Dwarka. He stood before its enormous gates, tired and dusty from the road. The guards looked at the stranger in his worn clothes and stopped him. "I have come to see Krishna," Sudama explained. The guards were surprised. Many important people came to meet Krishna. This tired traveler did not look like one of them. Sudama tried to explain again, but they still hesitated to let him enter. Finally, Sudama said quietly, "Please tell Krishna only this. Sudama has come." One of the guards carried the message inside. Krishna heard the name, Sudama. For a moment, he was no longer thinking about meetings, visitors, or the affairs of Dwarka. He remembered a boy studying beside him at the ashram. He remembered their games, their laughter, and all the days they had spent together. Krishna immediately hurried toward the palace gates. Sudama could hardly believe his eyes. The king of Dwarka was running out to meet him. Krishna reached his old friend and welcomed him with great happiness. Sudama, after all these years, he took Sudama by the hand and led him inside. Krishna brought Sudama into the palace and gave him a place of honor. Sudama had walked a very long way, and his feet were tired and covered with dust. So Krishna brought water and gently washed his friend's feet himself. Sudama was deeply moved. Krishna was a king now, yet he was treating his old friend with the same warmth and affection as he had many years ago. Then Krishna noticed that Sudama was trying to keep a small cloth bundle out of sight. "What have you brought with you?" Krishna asked with a smile. Sudama felt embarrassed. "It is nothing," he said, but Krishna reached for the little bundle and opened it. Inside was the handful of pohe. Krishna's face lit up. "Pohe," he said happily. He took some and began to eat. "This is wonderful." Sudama stared at him. The gift that had seemed so small and ordinary now felt very different. Krishna embraced Sudama warmly. For a long time, the two friends sat together and talked. They remembered their days at Rishi Sandipani's ashram. They remembered studying together. They remembered playing together. They remembered the little adventures and mischief of their childhood. His wife had asked Sudama to ask Krishna for help, but now he forgot all about it. He was simply happy to be with his old friend again. Krishna had remembered him. That was enough. At last, it was time for Sudama to return home. He said goodbye to Krishna and began the long journey back. He carried no bags of gold. He had asked for no riches, but his heart was full of happiness. When Sudama finally reached his village, he stopped in surprise. Something had changed. Where his little house had stood was now a large and comfortable home. There was plenty of grain and food for his family. There were cows to provide milk. His family would no longer have to worry about having enough to eat. Krishna had understood what his friend needed without Sudama ever having to ask. Their friendship was so beautiful that there was no need to say anything. A true friend does not ask how rich you are, what you own, or how important you have become. A true friend remembers you, welcomes you, and values what comes from your heart.